elect more pro-Russian candidates to the European Parliament and to reinforce a certain pro-Russian narrative. Europe-wide polls are being held on June the 6th to the 9th to elect a new EU Parliament. I'm Charles Dilladesma.
Flash flooding caused by relentless heavy rains that soaked western Pennsylvania has spurred numerous rescues and evacuations in the region. The National Weather Service said nearly 3 inches of rain fell in a short time late Thursday in parts of Allegheny County. Rescue crews in the Pittsburgh suburb of Oakdale used watercraft to evacuate or rescue some residents. No injuries were reported. Parts of New England were also dealing with flooding as more rain came early Friday. Another rough day on Wall Street as the Dow plunged 475 points, the Nasdaq dropping 267. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. We make the Solaire infrared grills, which are perfect for today's busy lifestyles. You're probably in your car right now, wondering what you'll have for dinner tonight. Imagine that when you get home, your Solaire infrared grill will be at 1,000 degrees in 3 minutes. That's right, just 3 minutes. The high heat locks in the juices and flavor and grills faster, so that in a matter of minutes, you could be sitting down to a great tasting grill dinner any and every night of the week. Your smoker or low-slow barbecue is great for the weekend, but the hot, fast speed and convenience of Solaire infrared grills make them your everyday go-to grill. And they aren't just for searing steaks. Solaire infrared grills also enhance fish, chicken, pork, shrimp, veggies, and fruit. Virtually everything your family enjoys. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. That's BestHotGrill.com. Solaire infrared at BestHotGrill.com.
Hi.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks fell sharply following a mixed start to earnings reporting season. Worries about tensions in the Middle East rattled financial markets, and Treasury yields fell as investors look for safer places for their money. J.P. Morgan Chase was among the stock market's heaviest weights after giving a forecast for a key source of income that was below analysts' estimates. The pressure is always on companies to produce better profits, but it's particularly acute now given expectations that interest rates may stay high for a while. The Dow was down 475 points to close at 37,983. The Nasdaq lost 267 to 16,175. The S&P 500 dropped 75 to 51.23. New York oil rose 64 cents to $85.66 per barrel. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. We are dialing up a beautiful set of days with a clear night ahead, the low dipping to 50. Tomorrow, picture perfect. Sunny skies, a high of 76. Warmer on Sunday, more sunshine, 85 is the high. Next week, quite warm, upper 80s is our highs, and nice days ahead. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Don't you forget, pressing the button can also be enjoyable for you.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Well, 50% will get us into the Hall of Fame, right? Because that's where we are tonight. Phil actually on the IR. So no Kornblut tonight here on Sports Talk. Happy Friday, folks, and welcome in to the program all across the state of South Carolina on the Sports Talk Media Network. That's Finn. I am here as well, Chris Bergen in the Bergie Palace over in Sardis. And when Phil is on vacation or on the disabled list, as he is tonight, We welcome in off the bench. We bring in our bench warmer, Matt Smith, down in Georgetown. You're welcome to join us as well at 888-898-2525. Again, 888-898-2525. Hope you've had a fantastic Friday. We've got a dynamite show planned for you here tonight. We'll do our usual Friday deal. We'll talk some NASCAR with Jeff Owens at around 7:15 this evening. Start looking forward to Texas over the weekend. We will certainly keep you posted on the Masters, which evidently is not going to end this afternoon because the wind has made it awfully difficult, and the pace of play down at Augusta has slowed to a snail's pace. So we'll get you an update on the Masters leaderboard. Plus, we'll watch plenty of college baseball tonight. Gamecocks on the road at Florida. Tigers and NC State just getting started at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Plenty on that as well as the evening moves along. MJ Ward will join us for birdies, bogeys, and biceps around South Carolina with George Bryan coming up just after 7:30. We'll also have Don Williams on the ground at Augusta National at 6:30. So we've got the Masters covered from tee to green here on Sports Talk. But welcome in my partner tonight with Phil out. We say hello to Matt Smith down in the Georgetown way. Smitty, let's try it that way. How you doing this evening, brother?
Well, good evening, and I noticed that you just mentioned that Corn is on the IR. Was that a specific request from him? Is it like hockey injuries? We're going to go upper body, lower body. We don't want to specify, so we don't want the defense to go after it body part. You don't want to tell. You don't want to tell everybody.
Should we get in? I mean, we could have some fun. I mean, we absolutely could have some fun at his expense, and I'm sure our listeners would quite enjoy that.
Yeah, why don't you tell us what happened to Corn, why he can't be with us tonight?
Well, from what I understand, and this is from Corn directly, sources close to Corn tell us that he evidently stepped in a hole over at USC back on Friday, I guess this past Friday, covering, I'm thinking, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he said he was over there covering Gamecock football. It wasn't for baseball, I don't think. So he was over there and evidently stepped in a hole. He has now learned that he did some ligament damage in his ankle. So he is certainly past day-to-day status. So Corn taking the evening off, probably a good idea because my guess is he has also gotten some medication for his ankle. So we wish the Corn all the best, but we can pick at him a little bit. That's what happens when you get older. You've got to keep an eye on your footing.
Yeah, you said sources close to Corn. I have some witnesses that say he cried like a baby. He laid, he blew on it, and the Corn wept. He wept. He wept over his injury. And at his age, we're lucky he didn't break a hip. I'm just from our mouths to God's ears, just make sure his hips are okay.
Yeah, this is true because when you start, when that first number is a 6 or higher in your age, it starts to become a little more difficult when you start to take tumbles and step in holes all around campuses and elsewhere covering games. This is what happens over the course of 40 years of sports talk and covering games. You know, it just builds up over time, and sooner or later your body starts to break down. Maybe not quite to the degree that Tiger Woods has broken down with his body, but Tiger bounced back rather well, and he's in the mix at the Masters down at Augusta. I'm not sure if Phil is going to bounce back as quickly as Tiger Woods has.
No, and Tiger is fine. And now I was working on a lot of different things, kind of keeping a lot of balls in the air going, heading into showtime here tonight. But I saw that it was still Scheffler and DeChambeau right there near the top. As of a little while ago, but has that changed in the last 30 minutes?
That has not, so we'll get you an update on the leaderboard since Smitty asked for it. It is Scotty Scheffler with a one-shot lead right now. He is continuing to play. As a matter of fact, his group, Smitty, this will give you an idea of just how difficult the conditions have been, and one of the reasons I enjoy golf, but I'm not sure I could stomach this kind of round. They teed off, his group teed off at 1:48 this afternoon. They have just completed 12 holes of golf. It took them, I believe, a half an hour to play the 11th hole alone. Now, Scheffler's in the mix, and he is playing with Rory McIlroy, one of the featured groups, if you will, that everybody wants to see. But Scheffler certainly having the better of the tournament thus far. He's got a one-shot lead at 7 under par. He's ahead of Max Homa, who is in the clubhouse. He's the clubhouse leader along with Bryson DeChambeau. both at 6 under par. DeChambeau, after that magnificent 65 yesterday, came out fired a 73 today. The best round of the tournament today, Ludwig Aberg with a 69, and he is the only player that has finished. As I scroll through the entire leaderboard, he is the only player that has finished tonight, or today rather, that is under 70. There have been a couple of 70s, some 71s, plenty of 72, 73, 74, you name it. The cut line has moved. It appears it's going to be sitting at +5. Nikolai Højgaard is at -4. He is 3 shots back. And then you have Colin Morikawa along with Cameron Davis at -3. Let's see who else anybody cares about in the top 15, top 20. Tommy Fleetwood at -1. Cameron Young also at -1. They're tied for 10th. Let's see, Patrick Reed with a 70 today, one of the better rounds of the day. He has finished at even par. He'll be inside the cut line, as will Justin Thomas. If he can finish it off, he is playing the 15th right now at even par. Tiger Woods, as we mentioned, 72 today, +1. He is in a tie for 23rd. And Smitty, with that sliding inside the cut line for him, history made today down at Augusta. His 24th consecutive cut made at the Masters. And when we get Don Williams on in just a little bit, I'm fascinated with Tiger. Tiger has always been an interesting figure for me. I'm not a huge Tiger Woods fan. Anyone who listens to Sports Talk knows this, but I understand his immense talent. And I am fascinated considering he has only played, I believe, maybe 1 or 2 competitive tournaments this year. But here he goes, and he shows up at Augusta having taken weeks and weeks off, which is not the norm in the PGA. And he shoots a 72 and a 73, and he is sitting at +1 and inside the cut line for the 24th straight time. So is that a credit to his immense talents, or is Tiger Woods like Secretariat? There are horses for courses, and Tiger's game just is always fit Augusta.
I think that's a combination, but I think what you said, horses for courses, I think that carries a lot of meaning here because we've seen Freddie Couples have great rounds in the past before his back started acting up on him. Of course, he's a former champion. And I think that this is the course where Tiger Woods can make a charge because of his familiarity with it. Mm-hmm. So many good memories. You can ride on fumes, run fumes a little bit here. It would be like, Kelly Yarborough. You could have put him out there at the age of 55, right? And he would have run a lap at Darlington and would have posted a great time. He just knows it. Eyes closed. And I think what you just said, horses for courses, I think that's an apt comparison for Tiger Woods at Augusta National. And there have been others, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Freddie Couples, even John Daly sober. There's a few guys that can just go out there and knock it out at Augusta. And that's why I think watching him this weekend will draw eyes because we know that this would be a story just for him to snip, just for him to be on page 1 of the leaderboard on Saturday or Sunday. And look, I don't want to, you're steering this ship, but I don't want to forget, bury the lead here. You did see what Bryson DeChambeau did on number 13 when he ripped a signpost out of the ground, right?
I did. Hey, look, they compared him to Paul Bunyan, and I thought it was a great analogy. He actually, if you missed it, folks, he hit his shot so far right on 13, he played up the 14th fairway on the green and made a birdie. It was one of the most magnificent birdies I've seen at 13 in a long time, but Smitty, underscores it with the fact he pulled up a signpost so it would get out of his way. He said it weighed about 30 pounds.
They made him put it back. This is something that none of us would dare do, right? If we ever able to walk the fairway, the glorious fairway on 13 or 14 for that matter, wherever you are, you would not think, hey, there's a post that's in my way. I'm just going to pull that up. This to me is evidence that Bryson DeChambeau is on performance-enhancing drugs. No one else would think, or psychedelics. No one else would think to do this. But we'll have to talk to Don Williams about this in about 10 minutes live from Augusta. But is there anything, any more visual, more apropos to Bryson DeChambeau? Because he's a rule breaker. He cut his clubs the same length. He went and played on the Live Tour. He decided he was going to just overpower PGA Tour courses. He was just going to rev it up and play in the rough if that was the direction of the tee. And here's somebody, he looks at a signpost at Augusta National, and his first thought is that, Bobby Jones probably wouldn't go rip that thing out, would he, if it was in his lie. But DeChambeau does. He is a rule breaker. And I think there's some golf fans that look at that and say, yeah, let's do that. Let's tear golf's unwritten rules up a little bit. Boy, and how about where he picked to do it? Hallowed ground. 13's part of Amen Corner, and they have a signpost there, and he put it on his back, like you said, the way that Paul Bunyan would take down a redwood. That was it. It's just an incredible visual we got treated to today.
There's a reason they call the big tree that hangs over the left side of the fairway at number 17 Ike's Tree, because the president at that time, Dwight Eisenhower, kept hitting into it and asked Augusta to cut it down. Augusta said no. So maybe he should have, fast forwarded and brought in somebody like DeChambeau of his time, just whip the tree out of the ground with his bare hands.
See, that's what I love about Augusta National. They say, who are you? I'm the president. Well, we'll have a new one in 4 years anyway, so there's no reason for us really.
Yeah, we're going to be here a lot longer than you. Exactly.
A lot longer. Yep.
So we'll have some fun. Don Williams set to join us just after 6:30, and again, plenty more after 7:30 tonight as well, with birdies, bogeys, and biceps around South Carolina. Kristen Smitty with you tonight. Again, Phil off this evening. Josh Cohen back in our studios in Columbia. He'll take your phone calls at 888-898-2525. Also, in addition to Masters weekend, it is a big college baseball weekend, and it started a couple of minutes ago up at Clemson. And despite concerns to the contrary about Clemson losing to USC Upstate, their offense wasn't the problem earlier this week. It was the pitching and all the home runs that flew out of Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Well, they have picked up, right where they left off. NC State homered in the top of the first. Clemson countered with a 2-run home run from Will Taylor in the bottom of the first inning. And Smitty, they go to the second with Clemson out in front 2-1, and that offense just continues to percolate under Eric Backage.
Yep, not worried about Clemson at all this weekend. NC State comes in scuffling a little bit. I think I had a comment about when I looked at USC Upstate and Clemson the other night. To me, it's all about it was all about the Spartans and just giving them credit.
Yeah, exactly.
And tip your cap. They beat the number 2 team in the country. Tip your cap to Upstate. They're no pushover. They're going to college this year in the Big South, and Clemson is right where they should be. And they've got their head back on straight, and they're looking to take down another ACC opponent, and I think they will. If I were a betting man, which I suppose I am, I'd take Clemson to do no worse than 2 of 3 this weekend at home against NC State. I think they'll get right back on track starting tonight.
I just don't know how NC State can get enough outs. They're going to have to get 27 outs a game. And I just don't know that they can because of their pitching staff. Smitty, worst ERA in the ACC, almost 7 runs a game allowed by the pitching staff of NC State. This is not a Clemson team you want to face with a pitching staff been scuffling throughout the season.
Nope, absolutely not. That pitching staff that you just mentioned is going to face Blake Wright 12 to 15 times this weekend. That's a recipe for disaster.
How do you get him out? Yeah. I mean, good pitching staffs, they've had a hard time getting that guy out. Much less mediocre to bad pitching staffs, and I think that's going to be State's problem. I don't know that they can score enough runs. They are averaging about 8 a game, but they may have to score 15 to compensate for the amount of runs that Clemson will be able to put up against their staff.
That's right. I didn't see the total, but you might want to take the over a couple times this weekend with Clemson and NC State. And, of course, South Carolina on the road at Florida. And road games have been tough on the Gamecocks this year, although Mark Kingston said in his comments earlier this week, well, we don't know yet because we haven't played enough baseball on the road to truly know, what kind of road club we are or if we should change anything. If Florida comes in, they're smarting a little bit. Obviously, they got swept in 3 one-run games last weekend. They'll be looking to right the ship. And how about this note? South Carolina hasn't beaten Florida in a series at Gainesville since 2011 when Ray Tanner was the head coach.
That was the other national championship team of the back-to-back from 10 and 11. Wow, that's amazing. And, Florida's if you look at it from a Gamecock perspective, that's a game in a series they've got to win. Probably even need to sweep. I don't know how you can get that greedy on the road, but you've got a Florida team thinking, all right, well, we've been scuffling. We got embarrassed by Florida State in the midweek. We lost all 3 to Missouri, but they were tight games. It's time for us to get back and start playing baseball like we're accustomed to. And I think this is a Florida team that's a lot different than the ones we've normally seen from Kevin O'Sullivan's squads. You don't normally expect them to struggle, especially when they've got talented players like Jack Caglione.
No, and Florida has, as you said, struggled. But, college baseball, it kind of happens so quickly. If you get into a slump in college baseball, okay, 8 to 12 games. Well, in Major League Baseball, in the Major League Baseball season, that's not really much of anything. That's just a blip on the radar. But everything microwaved in college baseball, and Florida wants to get after it, as you said. In South Carolina, meanwhile, they've been kind of saved by that sweep at home over Vanderbilt. Their record is 6-6 in the SEC, but that's the only series they've won. So these are two teams that are coming in that are a little bit desperate's not the right word. It'd be somewhere between cool, relaxed, and desperate, right? Whatever the term would be in between. They're a little bit anxious. Both these fan bases want to see their team succeed, and they want to get wins this weekend. I don't know. I think it's a toss-up. I know Florida is favored tonight. I think this is an absolute toss-up. You said you'd like to see South Carolina win 2 out of 3. I look at this, and I think if I were an unbiased observer, I would slightly favor Florida. But here, to me, is the X factor. The X factor is tonight. Eli Jones, he just had his worst outing of the season against Texas A&M, but he's got great stuff. If he comes out tonight and takes a Florida team that has really been struggling at the plate and gets them in the wrong frame of mind, if he goes 5, 6, 7 innings and gives Florida next to nothing, maybe they get anxious and they start squeezing the bats, because that will be a 4th consecutive loss in SEC play, and you see Florida team get inside their own heads. So Eli Jones is so crucial tonight. I feel like how he goes is how the series will go. If you get a great start tonight out of Jones and he rebounds, he turns it around. A&M's been hitting everybody, right? So if that was just a blip on the radar and Eli Jones goes out tonight and gives the issues, well, then South Carolina's right there with the opportunity to win this series on the road. And as I said, for the first time since 2011.
That's amazing. And one thing Florida has struggled with, much like NC State, they have not gotten the pitching that they normally expect to. And a team that went to the College World Series, played for the national championship last year, you normally expect them to be stacked Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. That has not been the case. And Brandon Neely will get the start tonight against Eli Jones for the Gators, 5.18 ERA. And Caglione, who's been a stud since he stepped on campus in Gainesville, his ERA is set at 3.67. I think the interesting game, in addition to tonight, can the Gamecocks get off to a good start in an SEC weekend, which they have not since that Vanderbilt series back in late March. Smitty, how does Ty Good respond from a Gamecock perspective, being out of the bullpen, now getting an opportunity to start? Big game on Saturday. He's 4-0 on the season, but I'm not sure he's thrown into an environment like he's going to see, especially from a starting perspective, tomorrow afternoon. I mean, this is a big opportunity for him to establish himself as the guy, hey, coach, hand me the ball on the weekend. I can go get people out.
I know, and this is why I think Eli Jones' start tonight is so important. If he can give the bullpen a break tonight, so let's say Eli Jones can go 6 innings and leave with the lead for South Carolina, well, then that leaves you the opportunity, if you're Mark Kingston, to work tomorrow with Ty Good, and you know that you can tell him, hey, you're just going to go out there and do your thing. We want quality over quantity because you've got plenty of rested arms in the bullpen. However, if Eli Jones, if he comes out and has a disastrous start like he did against A&M, all of a sudden the bullpen, it's all hands on deck, and those guys will be worn out, and then there's a lot of pressure on Ty Good heading into tomorrow. That's why I think Jones, you hand him the ball tonight, and I don't know his reality, so I don't know what Kingston will say to him, but the point is, he's your number 1 starter. He's your Friday night guy. It's just probably unsaid, unspoken in that dugout. Jones needs to go out and give you 6 tonight so you can protect Ty Good tomorrow. And then if he goes out, and Ty Good's got brilliant stuff, everybody knows that, so that he'll go out tomorrow and give you 3, 4, or 5 innings. Now all of a sudden you're ahead of the curve, and you're just using your high leverage arms as you move into Saturday and Sunday. So that's why I think Jones obviously got to get the Gamecocks off to a great start, but almost as importantly, I think he needs to go 6 tonight.
Be a good second start of the season for him tomorrow. So that's a big spot for him. We'll keep you posted on the Gamecocks and Gators. They're about to get underway. And again, Clemson NC State has started. They're in the bottom of the second now. Tigers with a 2-1 lead on NC State. Complete coverage of both series this weekend at SportsTalkSC.com. All right, 888-898-2525. We will check in down in Augusta with Don Williams here in just a little bit, plus plenty more after 7:30 as well during our weekly golf segment with George Bryan. But let's head off to the phones and kick it off with you on this Friday night. Again, Phil on the IR. We don't know how long tonight he'll not be with us. We do have recruiting, though. Just want to ease anybody's fears. We will never go through a sports talk show, Phil here or not, without recruiting. We'll get to that a little bit later on as we welcome in Andy from Columbia to kick us off on this Friday night. Andy, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you, sir?
Chris, Smitty, Josh, I hope you're all doing well. I got to say, we always talk about RBF, but as I always say, there's always one better F. That's a KFF, a Corn-Free Friday. So more power to it. Now, did Corn really hurt himself decorating the Sports Talk Pinto for the on Sunday? Is that how he hurt himself?
That's interesting because, as Smitty pointed out, we're not sure. We can't verify. His story is he stepped in a hole on campus, but now whether or not he was walking back and bringing streamers with him back to the Sports Talk Pinto, I don't know.
I heard that. Look, this is all unsubstantiated. We don't know what's real, but there's a lot of Twitter fodder out there that he actually was chased down by Kerry Tharp and the security crew at Darlington Country. He was stealing Titleist balls. He had stuffed his pants with Titleist and was running on the court, and then he was injured when the police tackled him. I don't know. These are out there. This isn't us. This isn't us saying this.
I always heard the greenskeepers out at any country club chases Corn around because of his destruction of the fairways and the greens. So I can see that to be very true in that case, other than the balls, but destruction of the golf course out there through his divoting. But regarding Sunday, just something, and I'm wondering when this has happened before, with South Carolina being the national champions, has any national champion before, or when was the time, has beaten every team that was in the Final Four by double digits at one time or another during the season?
Wow.
Because they spanked Connecticut at home, right? By what, 20 or something? Spanked NC State and took care of Iowa. That's Bailey saying hello to Finn, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I will pass that along.
Thank you. We got to let you go. Thank you so much, Andy.
Y'all have a good weekend, fellas.
And that question, and Chris, I would say I agree with what Andy's getting at, because I was thinking back to Indiana's team that was the last undefeated men under Bobby Knight. But in women's basketball, don't forget South Carolina took on the top 10 head-to-head. I mean, they played multiple teams, the other premier franchise, premier programs in college basketball, women's basketball. So it might have been more impressive than what Bobby Knight did in 1977.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. We are dialing up a beautiful set of days with a clear night ahead, the low dipping to 50. Tomorrow, picture perfect. Sunny skies, a high of 76. Warmer on Sunday, more sunshine, 85 is the high. Next week, quite warm, upper 80s is our highs, and nice days ahead. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Great don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting U.S. stocks fell sharply following a mixed start to earnings reporting season. The S&P 500 sank 1.5% Friday, the Dow dropped 1.2%, and the Nasdaq Composite fell 1.6% from its record. Worries about tensions in the Middle East rattled financial markets, and Treasury yields fell as investors looked for safer places for their money. Authorities say a Texas semi-trailer driver rammed a stolen 18-wheeler through the front of a public safety building where his renewal for a commercial driver's license had been rejected, killing one person and injuring 13 others. The intentional crash into the single-story brick building in a rural town outside of Houston Friday left debris in its wake. The Dow was down by 475 points. More at srnnews.com.
Families of all backgrounds want options when it comes to their children's education. Education scholarship accounts provide the flexibility and freedom necessary for parents to tailor their child's learning experience according to their unique needs. In fact, 75% of South Carolina voters believe education scholarship accounts should be made available to all families, regardless of income level. And there's a bill sitting before the South Carolina State Senate that would do just that. And you can make the difference. Call your state senator today and urge that senator to put students first in South Carolina by expanding access to educational scholarship accounts. The time is now to support South Carolina students. For more information, visit southcarolinaschoolchoice.com. Again, that's southcarolinaschoolchoice.com. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity, South Carolina.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee-Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Hello, I'm Congressman Ralph Norman. Friends, our nation is over $34 trillion in debt, according to the United States Treasury, and every month we continue to add to that mountain of debt. This is one of the most important issues of our time, and I firmly believe our nation is at risk of economic collapse if our elected leaders continue down this path and refuse to reduce spending. I need the tough votes in Congress to back up my words, and I invite you to learn more about this on my website, norman.house.gov.
As we celebrate 10 fantastic years at Sweet Comfort Services, we're cooling you off with unbeatable deals on all SEER 2 and high-efficiency AC equipment. Hey Point family, mention this ad and get a thorough spring maintenance check from our non-commissioned techs for just $95 for your first system and a chill $45 each additional system. Look us up at sweethvac.com or call us at 331-8143. Celebrating a decade of keeping you cool and comfy. That's the Sweet Comfort promise.
Unbelievable floor deals rushing your Floor Boys on North Lake Drive in Lexington. Unwrap savings with carpet as low as 59 cents per square foot. Hardwoods at just $1.99. You want more? Luxury vinyl planking at an unheard $2.29. Hurry, this flooring clearance lasts only while stocks do. Floor Boys, we're flooring the Midlands quickly and affordably. Schedule your free in-home assessment right now at floorboys.com.
She is the track too tough to take.
The lady in black. She's got a thing for tradition, a hankering for history, and she sure likes a good challenge. Well, when Throwback Weekend comes to town, she'll get exactly what she wants and play extra hard to get.
These guys are going to have their hands full.
Shall we dance? The official Throwback Weekend of NASCAR, May 10th through the 12th. Get your tickets now at raceway.com.
Well, Well, if darkness does not fall on Scotty Scheffler and company, the second round of the Masters may actually finish before tonight, even though it's now taking those guys 5 hours to play 14 golf holes because the weather conditions have not been ideal down at Augusta National with the fierce winds that we have had throughout the day. Today, Max Homa now in the lead with Bryson DeChambeau and Scotty Scheffler, a three-way tie for first at -6. Scheffler still got several holes with which to play. Højgaard is 2 strokes back at -4, and then you've got a couple of players in there at -3. Matt Fitzpatrick at -2. Tommy Fleetwood sitting in a big group at -1. And as we pointed out earlier, Tiger Woods making a little history today. He is at +1, 24th straight Masters made cut. As we send it down to Augusta National and welcome in our man on the ground here this evening, we say hello to Don Williams, who's been covering the Masters for us for a long, long time here on Sports Talk. Don, good evening. Welcome back. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're very well. Obviously, it must have been a tough walk on the golf course today. Describe for those of us who were just watching it on television and saw all the loblolly pines swaying back and forth, just how fierce has the wind been down there today?
I think that it may have been the most sustained high winds that I can remember in my 41 years. There have been times last year where there was more wind than there was today, but for brief periods of time. But I can't remember. I saw, and I'm sure many of our listeners saw, when on 18, the golfers were getting pelted with sand that was being blown out of the bunkers on that hole, one of the most exposed on the golf course. I just don't remember it being as consistently high winds as it was today. Max Homa into the interview room about a half an hour after he finished his round and said the only thing he could think about as he played 17 and 18 was that somewhere there was a couch and a TV waiting for him. He couldn't wait to he said, all I want to do is get inside somewhere.
Would that explain? It does, but would that explain? I was kind of joking, but I somewhat understand as well. The group that's out there on the course right now that includes Scotty Scheffler, Don, they teed off at 148 this afternoon, and they've still got about 5 holes left to play. I mean, it's taken them an inordinate amount of time to get through the round. Has the wind really slowed down play that considerably, or are they just a slow group in general?
No, it's slowed down, and I think there were some issues. I saw the Scheffler group having a very long wait on the 11th tee, and I think that there were some issues ahead of them with rulings and so on involving John Rahm. But I was telling somebody a little while ago, there's no such thing as a stock shot on a day like today. So every shot requires probably just a little bit more thought and a little bit more focus than normal. And as a result, that's going to slow you down a little bit. Yeah, you made a good point about darkness is about an hour and 15 minutes away. I hope they can get it in because they should, based on when everybody started this afternoon. But it's possible. It's possible we could have somebody on 18 and it's getting pretty dark.
Don Williams joining us here on Sports Talk. Don, with what happened today with Bryson DeChambeau at number 13, where he pulled the post out of the ground. Now, look, that's a great visual. It's great for memes. It's great for the internet. From a journalistic perspective, is there a better visual of someone who is absolutely a rule breaker, cut from a different cloth, live tour, had his clubs cut the same length, he tries to play golf in a different way? To me, that visual almost encapsulates Bryson DeChambeau is in the most hallowed of ground, on one of the most hallowed holes, he pulls a post out of it.
Well, I didn't happen to see that particular instance, so I'll have to take your word for it. But he's a unique individual. There's no question about it. And when his is dialed, and it hasn't been all that often the last 2 or 3 years, but when it is, when the ball is going where he wants it to go, he's a tough customer to deal with. I saw him hit a shot today on number 17, his drive, which is tougher holes. Now, granted, I think it was playing downwind, but I don't think he had any more than about 70 yards left in to the 17th green. That's a tough par 4. So he's playing very well right now. Can he keep it up for 2 more days? I mean, today certainly was not anything around he had yesterday. But then again, nobody today, I think we said, one person shot in the 60s today? The scores were just not there to be made today. If you shot even par, 1 under par, 2 under par, that was a great round of golf.
Well, Don, you have to see this so that you can get in front of a computer or on your phone. You've got to see this. It was a Paul Bunyan moment for Bryson DeChambeau, and you don't want to miss it. But as far as his game and Scotty Scheffler and Max Homa, and of course there's going to be other challengers as the weekend progresses. In my mind, Augusta is one of those courses you can't bully. Maybe Tiger bullied it a little bit in 97, and of course then they made some changes, but you're seeing what you see with the course biting back today. Can Bryson bully his way to this victory? Because that's something you can do sometimes in Las Vegas, but I don't know that anyone does it very often at Augusta.
No, I don't think you can. You can't overpower this golf course. I mentioned 17 that's basically he overhit that hole and then he bogeys 18 because that's a tough driving hole and he missed the fairway there. And you still have to be able to put the ball in the fairway. And when he's playing well, he does that more often than not. But he didn't on 18. It cost him a bogey, and thus that's why he's leading right now. Which I was, I'm kind of a Max Homa fan. So that bogey by DeChambeau is going to get Max. It looks like there's nothing much that could change, I don't think. Homa will be in the final group tomorrow. He'll be playing with either or DeChambeau. So that'll be fun for Max. He's never been in this position before. He's gotten quite a name for himself because he's so active on social media. He's a fun guy to listen to and to watch play golf, but he's not had a track record in majors. Only one top 10, and that was last year at the Open Championship. So this is new territory for Max, and it's going to be fun to watch and see how he handles it this weekend.
Don Williams joining us from Augusta National, where Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, Max Homa are atop the leaderboard. But we can't ignore Tiger Woods because CBS certainly isn't going to. Don, 24th consecutive cut that he's made there at Augusta. I'd love your perspective on this. Chris mentioned horses for courses earlier. How much is almost muscle memory that guys like Tiger Woods or Freddie Couples when he was able, or Jack Nicklaus in his younger days, or Arnold Palmer when he was with us, can get around at Augusta almost by sense of smell? The games were built for it, and does Tiger have a charge in it?
Does he have a charge in him? It'd be foolish to say that Tiger can't do anything. But there's a lot of really good names between his 1 over and the 6 under that is currently leading. So to pass 20-some people who are 20 years younger and far healthier, that would be a severe challenge. But you're absolutely right about some players, and you mentioned Couples and Gary Player, who shared the record with Tiger of 23 straight cuts made. And then Bernhard Langer was there at 19 made and had the record for the oldest player to make the cut at Augusta till Couples broke it last year. There are some people that just have the knowledge of how to get around that course. Now, Tiger probably knows how to get around most courses in the world. But, yeah, I mean, he's played really well. I've seen a lot of it because he played with Max. I saw most all of his shots, and he had a few wayward drives, but he really chipped it unbelievably well today, and he made a bunch of tough 5 and 6 foot par putts. So he earned his ticket to the weekend.
And Don, to that point about Tiger playing well, he certainly did today and actually did yesterday as well. Score may not show that, but this is the best he has driven the golf ball at Augusta since I believe he hit 22 fairways the first 2 rounds, his best since 1999. So, Smitty's point about horses for courses and muscle memory, it has to play a little bit, or is it just still, even with his body breaking down, him getting older and the whole 9 yards, I mean, does it still speak to just his immense talent? And even a 50 or 75% Tiger Woods is still as good as a lot of people on the PGA Tour.
Well, I think that, most people would say that he's the greatest player that ever played the game. I think Nicklaus has got an argument that can be made in his favor, but we are talking about somebody that's at another level from everybody else that's ever played the game. So even Tiger at 75% is still plenty good enough to, if his body will allow him to make the swings and walk the 6 miles that it takes to get around that golf course, and it has the last 2 days, he's looked better than he's looked since his automobile accident. That he's going to be able to post a score. Now, is it good enough to win a golf tournament? That's a whole nother story. But he certainly has the ability to at least make it to the weekend, and we'll see what he does, Saturday and Sunday.
Before I let you go, tomorrow has always been known as moving day at Augusta. Where do you feel the number needs to be to have a legitimate shot? Let's say, how far back if you're at Tiger Woods at +1? I mean, are you still in the golf tournament just 7 shots back, or do you need to be a little bit closer, like, say, somebody who's sitting at Patrick Reed at even, or even a Danny Willett who's won it before, had a tough day today at -1. All those guys at -1 are in the mix, but where do you see the number going tomorrow if the weather improves?
Well, I do think the weather will improve. I think it'll still be breezy. I think the golf course will be a little more difficult because I think it's going to get bouncier and harder. We'll see what the pin positions look like. I think they took it easy a little bit today because of the wind. So I don't think I think you'll see better than 69 tomorrow out of somebody, but I don't know that we'll see any crazy low scores. It depends. Scheffler's got 4 holes left. If he was to get to 8 under, then that's going to make a difference on how far back is too far back.
Right.
Right now at 6 under, I think the evens are still in the golf tournament. If it goes to 8 under, then I think I've got to slide that number to 1 under. The 1 overs, which includes Tiger and many others, they would have to put together 2 extraordinary rounds.
And Don, let me jump in here with this one last point, because heading into the golf tournament, I think everyone was in agreement that Scottie Scheffler was the best in the world, I guess, to put it no other way, kind of the world champion. And I wonder, is who's sitting at the top of that leaderboard, does that change your thinking at all? Because I think DeChambeau has got that high variance game, right, where he could double bogey or he could eagle, whereas if Scheffler is 2 or 3 shots clear of the field, that everybody's shoulders will settle a bit because they know he's going to be consistent coming down the stretch.
I think if Scottie Scheffler is tied for the lead, which he is right now, then that means he's leading. I think everybody feels, and don't forget, Scheffler missed a 2-foot putt today. So he's human. His putting is his one area of concern, but he's the best player in the world right now, and he's playing at the highest level. He had an opportunity today to separate himself a little bit because he went off late, and he knew where everybody else in the field was, and he wasn't able to separate, but I think the weather had a lot to do with that. Tomorrow will be interesting. He could easily separate himself from the field if he goes out and shoots 66 tomorrow. So yeah, people know he's up there, and they know that he's not going to come, more than likely. In golf, anything's possible, but more than likely, he's not going to come back to them.
Don, outstanding stuff as always. I know one of the few shows that Phil wants to be on is when you are on with us from Augusta, so I'm sure he is not happy he had to sit this one out tonight on the injured reserve list. We'll try and repair him as best we can and get him ready for 2025 at Augusta.
Well, tell him that the people that got called up from Gwinnett did a really good job.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Don Williams from Augusta covering the Masters for us like no one else can. We appreciate it, Don. Have fun again, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, guys, take care.
Yes, sir. That is Don Williams, our man on the scene down at Augusta. And Smitty, I thought he brought up a fascinating point about Scotty Scheffler, because people used to talk about Tiger like that. If you're tied with him, he's in front of you. He's in the lead because of the intimidating factor that Tiger was, not to go up the talent. I'm not so sure that Scotty Scheffler scares everybody the way Tiger did, but he's got such immense talent that I think he's right. Sitting in a share of the lead, he probably feels like he's a stroke or two better than the two guys he's tied with right now.
That was it in a 12-minute interview, Chris. And Don, as you said, he's insightful and brought up so many great points. And we talked about everything, DeChambeau and Homa and Tiger Woods making the cut and all of these things. But what I will take from that interview is Don Williams saying, if Scotty Scheffler is tied, he's in the lead. That's who you want to be. That means you're the alpha in your sport. That's Secretariat, and that's who Scotty Scheffler is right now. And that's what I think our listeners will take with them as they watch the Masters. Hopefully they can sit back with a gin and tonic or a margarita or an old-fashioned on Saturday and Sunday, or maybe you're just maybe you're a lemonade kind of guy or gal. But you can have a pimento sandwich, have an iced tea, and watch on Saturday and Sunday and let those words reverberate, because what Don Williams said just now about Scotty Scheffler is what the players behind him on the leaderboard absolutely know to be true. But can Bryson DeChambeau do what he's done his whole career, which is break the mold, do something unexpected? And does he get hot with that driver and those irons, and he just plays the game in a different manner? And Don said, look, you can't overpower Augusta. Bryson DeChambeau is testing that theory this week.
888-898-2525. If you'd like to join here tonight on Sports Talk, may have some time after the top of the hour to squeeze in a few phone calls before we talk some NASCAR with Jeff Owens. Looking forward to that. Quick baseball update. Good one going on at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, top of the fourth. NC State and Clemson tied at 2, but the Wolfpack have runners at the corners and 2 outs. Gamecocks with a home run in the first. We've got a lead on Florida, 1-0 in the bottom of the second.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pitts County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hostetler-Brown. Helping an aging loved one arrange for their care can be one of the most difficult things you will ever do. Fortunately, you don't have to navigate this maze alone. Lawyer Lisa's knowledgeable life care team can lead you down the right path. Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. More at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
She is the track too tough to take.
The lady in black. She's got a thing for tradition, a hankering for history, and she sure likes a good challenge. Well, when Throwback Weekend comes to town, she'll get exactly what she wants and play extra hard to get.
These guys are going to have their hands full.
Shall we dance? The official throwback weekend of NASCAR, May 10th through the 12th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
You didn't think we would leave you, even though Corn's not here, without a recruiting update, did you? Silly people. We're always going to have recruiting. We've got it covered 24/7 up at SportsTalkSC.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC, and, of course, every night here on Sports Talk, brought to you by our good friends over at Seawells, wrapping up this week's edition of the Daily Buffet with a roast beef Friday that I didn't get a chance to enjoy. Smitty, I was thinking about this earlier today. We need to get Seawells to have a satellite campus, just a satellite buffet on this side of the state, whether it be in Myrtle Beach, down towards Charleston, somewhere in the Low Country or the Grand Strand, so you and I can enjoy it about the same amount of times that Phil and Josh get to over in Columbia.
Smartest thing you've ever said, Chris.
I appreciate that. I worked hard.
I'd like a satellite station here at the station. That'd be nice.
See, that could work too.
During the breaks, just walk down the hallway.
You know, the past two nights we've had Don on, I have been inspired because he told me last night my question was above average, and tonight he's told us that the guys from Gwinnett did a nice job filling in for Corn. I feel inspired heading into the week. So we'll see if we're worthy of that high praise from Don Williams as we break out tonight's edition of Recruiting. Probably saw this a bit earlier today. If you have not, Sumter defensive end Anthony Addison announced his commitment to the Gamecocks via Twitter a bit earlier today. He had visited South Carolina Saturday to watch the Gamecocks' first major scrimmage of the spring, saying, quote, "They've told me I'll come up anytime, so I went up there and got to watch them practice and just strengthen my relationship with the coaches even more," Addison said. Got to get to know some of the players a whole lot better. It was a good visit. Addison posted 6 sacks, 25 tackles for loss in his junior season, helping Sumter to finish 11-2. The edge was the 4th USC commitment for the 2025 class and 2nd on the defensive side of the ball, joining Abbeville safety DeMarcus Leach, who committed to the Gamecocks earlier this week. Addison also received offers from Tennessee, Duke, Georgia Tech, West Virginia, Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, Charlotte, Cincinnati, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, USF, Liberty, among others. USC has offered 2026 defensive end Cameron Brooks out of Thomasville, Georgia. Furman transfer guard J.P. Pegues committed today to Auburn over South Carolina, among others. And also, we saw that Clemson forward R.J. Godfrey is reporting in the transfer portal. We'll circle back to that in just a quick second. And also another basketball note, Jamie Shaw of On3 reporting Friday morning that 6'4" Wisconsin transfer Connor Essigan will visit the Gamecocks this weekend. He did not start a game this season, averaged 3 points per game, down from 12 points per game as a freshman. But, of course, you know head coach Lamont Paris has plenty of connections with the University of Wisconsin and their basketball program. And that is our look tonight at recruiting, presented, as always, by our friends at Seawells. But, Smitty, back to R.J. Godfrey news. He is now the 3rd player from the Tigers to announce into the transfer portal since they reached the Elite Eight. I just found that fascinating that you've got a program that did so well this season but can't seem to keep the guys that they will need going to next season to possibly build on that.
Yep, I think maybe P.J. Hall was holding this team together. It's tough. It's tough to figure, though, because Clemson had so much success, but success does not always breed consistency.
All right, top of the hour break. We're coming right back, though.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. With a slim one-vote Republican majority and sniping from different party factions, House Speaker Mike Johnson says his challenge is to make Congress productive anyway. On the new weekly news program This Week on the Hill, Johnson feels pressures from social media don't make lawmakers' jobs any easier.
The job that we have right now in the midst of this modern Congress is to govern anyway. We've got to show the American people that we can keep the train on the tracks. If we do that, we're going to have a very strong November. But if all this grinds to a halt and people stop getting government services, they're going to be very angry very quickly, and that is not going to inure to our benefit.
Speaker Johnson adds that in his view, the stakes could not be higher in this year's elections. This Week on the Hill debuts this weekend on many of these same stations. President Biden said Friday that he expects Iran will strike Israel soon. Mr. Biden says if Iran attacks Israel, the U.S. would remain committed to protecting Israel.
We are devoted to the defense of Israel. We will support Israel. We will help defend Israel, and Iran will not succeed.
When asked by reporters how imminent he thought an attack by Iran would be, Biden said that while he didn't want to discuss secure information, his expectation was sooner than later. Authorities say a Texas semi-trailer driver rammed a stolen 18-wheeler through the front of a public safety building where his renewal for a commercial driver's license had been rejected, killing one person, injuring 13 others. The intentional crash into the single-story brick building in a rural town outside of Houston Friday left debris in its wake. A rough day on Wall Street as the Dow plunged 475 points, the Nasdaq down 267, the S&P lower by 75. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Progressive asks, what do a slow Friday night, bored teenage boys,
I'm bored,
a pack of fireworks,
this is gonna be awesome,
and a teetering branch suspended over your car have in common?
Look out!
They can quickly wreak havoc on your slow Friday night.
Uh-oh.
Bundle your home and auto with Progressive for great savings and round-the-clock protection.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliate insurers, not available in all states or situations.
Shop for a home now or hold out for possibly lower mortgage rates. Correspondent Jeremy House has more on this story.
It's a question confronting many home shoppers this spring home buying season amid widespread expectations that mortgage rates could come down once the Federal Reserve begins lowering its own short-term rate. Economists generally anticipate the average rate on a 30-year mortgage could start declining later this year after surging to a 23-year high of nearly 8% in late October. Holding out for more attractive rates could give home buyers some financial breathing room, but potential downside to waiting. Lower rates can bring out more buyers, driving up prices. Jeremy House reporting.
Consumer sentiment about the U.S. economy has ticked down but remains near a recent high, with Americans' outlook largely unchanged this year. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. We are dialing up a beautiful set of days with a clear night ahead, the low dipping to 50. Tomorrow, picture perfect. Sunny skies, a high of 76. On Sunday, more sunshine, 85 is the high. Next week, quite warm, upper 80s is our highs, and nice days ahead. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Come on, hit it. Do it. You know you want to.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Rolling right along, we are on a busy Friday night edition of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. Chris Bergen here in Florence. Josh Cohen taking your phone calls back home at our Columbia-based studios. And Matt Smith sitting in with us tonight as well from Georgetown. Phil Kornblut has the night off. He is on injured reserve. We will revisit. He's got a follow-up with Sports Talk Monday. We'll see if he's able to make the call then. But in the meantime, you're welcome to join us at 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Opening hour. Plenty of golf talk and baseball talk. Caught up with Don Williams down at Augusta National, where it has been a windy day, the least. Bryson DeChambeau with an impressive feat of strength, playing the 13th hole from the 14th fairway after pulling out a street sign in the middle of the fairway to make sure he didn't have an obstructed view of the green. Ended up birdieing that hole. He is right now in a three-way tie for first. He has finished today after shooting a 70. Max Homa in at 71 today. He is in that three-way tie. And Scotty Scheffler still on the golf course with a few holes left to go. He is at -6 as well. We'll get back to the phones in just a quick second. A little more golf coming up after 7:30. Jeff Owens on NASCAR as they get set to run in Texas this weekend. We'll catch up with Jeff here shortly. Baseball scoreboard. And Smitty, we were wondering if NC State could keep up with the offense against Clemson tonight, considering the Wolfpack bring in the worst pitching staff in the ACC, according to Team ERA. Well, they're up 5-2. In the bottom of the fourth inning up at Doug Kingsmore. Big 4-run fourth propelled them into the lead.
Let me just tell you this. The great Rick Sanford, who used to do this show with us, and Rick, of course, for Gamecock fans will remember he was a first-round draft pick. Rick used to get so irritated at everybody because when a good baseball team would lose to a lesser baseball team, everyone would kind of say, well, that's baseball. The Marlins, the Yankees 5-2. That just happens in baseball. That was unacceptable to him. He wanted to break it down. Now, what is going on with these guys? And it's fair, but look, points are valid. Both viewpoints are valid because on one side, Clemson is the better team, is the better club from NC State. I think we'll see that throughout the weekend. But it's like if somebody hits a 3-run homer, bang, that's a huge play, and that changes the win probability from 40% to 70%. There are major swings in baseball depending on how you hit with runners in scoring position. So, for anyone that's a Clemson fan, coming on the heels of the loss to USC Upstate, you're down to NC State 5-2. Don't panic, Rick. Turn your radio down. It's baseball. This happened. I still think Clemson is going to win 2 out of 3 from the Wolfpack this weekend.
Well, considering the Tigers have, if memory serves, 15 comeback wins this season, they've got it right where they want them. They're trailing early. Clemson has been the cardiac cats all season long, and I think you're probably right. Sooner or later, those numbers catch up with you, right? But right, to go with the it's baseball analogy, then you also have to delve into the analytics and start peeling back the onion and figure out why NC State has a nearly 7 ERA. It's not because they've held teams to 2 runs per 9 innings. There's something missing and a miss in that bullpen in particular, probably. And so sooner or later, you would think those Clemson bats would get going. This is a series the Tigers, I don't think, can afford to lose because this is one, as I think you're correctly pointing out, Smitty, they're the better team.
Well, but they can't afford to lose it for this reason. They are the master and commander right now of the ACC. So I like their chances. If things kind of go wonky this weekend, don't worry about it. What Clemson needs to focus on at this stage is what they did last year. And Aaron Bakich knows this from his time both at Michigan and at Clemson now, and the run they made to the ACC championship a season ago, ACC tournament championship, which is you want to be playing your best baseball at the right time of the year. Then you also want to be healthy going in, closing in on April and May as well. And that's what Clemson's focus is. But yeah, this just happens. NC State, they've got players too, and some of that ERA you're talking about, Chris, when you talk about team ERA, some of that could be on the back end of the bullpen. Sure. We'll see that, this series, NC State's got to get at least 27 innings this weekend, and that's hard to do against this Clemson lineup.
And as we are speaking, Jimmy Overtop has just homered to left field, 2-run shot to make it a 5-4 game. So here comes Clemson, as we mentioned, a very good team from playing from behind, and they've done it all season long. Meantime, good pitchers duel thus far. Eli Jones answering the bell for the Gamecocks as they are in the top of the fourth down in Gainesville. They are in a 1-1 tie. Gamecocks got an early lead. They actually scored in the first inning on a solo home run from Parker Nolan. Florida has answered back an RBI double into right center field. It was a ground rule double, and that's where we stand right now, top of the fourth inning, 1-1. Other baseball. At the collegiate ranks, some of the other games going on tonight. Miami, Florida State had a good one, top of the third in Tallahassee. Miami and Florida State tied at 4. Bottom of the third inning at Louisville, where it has a 6-1 lead. Bottom of the fourth inning, Notre Dame just continuing to scuffle. Fighting Irish more than likely about to drop below 500, coming in 15-15 on the season. They trail North Carolina 7-0 in Chapel Hill. Bottom of the fourth inning, Virginia Tech out in front of Georgia Tech over in Atlanta. Top of the fourth, it's a 4-1 game. Georgia. So maybe let's talk about Georgia for a moment. Charlie Condon in the season he is having. The Bulldogs have been awfully impressive, especially at home. They lead Missouri coming off that weekend sweep of Florida last weekend. Now the Bulldogs handing it to the Tigers. They lead 3-0, top of the fourth inning in Athens.
Yeah, and SEC baseball, man. Every weekend it's like the AL East. It's very difficult, so I'm not surprised at all that Missouri is being humbled here against Georgia. This is going to be a dogfight, no pun intended, we're talking about Georgia, but it will be a dogfight to the end here in the SEC. And then you're going to see come back in the SEC tournament because as everybody else sets up their pitching. So I think this SEC season is setting up to be one of the better ones it's always good. It's good every year, but nothing will surprise me right now in that conference. I'd be shocked. So I mentioned, we talked about Clemson, master and commander of the ACC. I'd be shocked if Clemson and Florida State are right there near the top, and Duke, obviously, with what they've accomplished so far, and UNC is good, and Virginia's good. I expect those teams. But to me, the difference between the top half of that conference, the ACC, and the bottom half is stark. In the SEC, forget it. Forget about it. Anybody can beat anybody any game. Any game could be 5-4, and you're not going to shock me with anybody being on top or anybody being on the bottom in that conference.
Two other scores, and then we'll get back to the phones. Top of the first inning in Tuscaloosa, Arkansas, the number 1 ranked team of the country, already with a 2-spot in the first. They lead at Alabama 2-0, and probably the weekend series to keep the most eyes on in the SEC. Vanderbilt at Texas A&M. It's number 6 against number 3. Right now they are scoreless, about to get started in the top of the first inning. All right, Jeff Owens on NASCAR coming up in just a couple of months, but let's head back into the phone lines and visit with you at 888-898-2525 as we head down to Charleston and say hello to our good friend Sam. Sam, you're up next here on Sports Talk. Good evening, sir.
Well, actually, I got an update about Duke and Clemson. So Duke has 0, Clemson has 0 on the first inning. So you know about that. Hey, I want to talk to you about a few things. My biggest concern for the upcoming season, the men's basketball team in Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my big wish list I want to talk to you about. One thing that what I have learned one of the first questions having is number 1 is Pat Kelsey's did a great job last year. He did so much with his program. I wish him the best of luck in Louisville. So here's my contact. The thing about if you talk to PK, on that if he's doing okay, I wish him. Let's be clear though when you talk to him first. I was wondering, I want to talk to him about how big is this recruiting class for basketball for Louisville? Number 2 is how deep is our bench next year for the CSC basketball team? And thirdly, I'm a huge fan of the show. I've been on too much. But I really want to know when the official block party next year, because I love parties. Do you guys want to come? I'll bring some beer.
I know you love parties, Sam. You've talked about that for years, and we appreciate the phone call tonight, and you have a great weekend. We'll have to wait a little while to see what Mac is able to develop in terms of recruiting, Smitty. I wouldn't think he's going to have a really hard problem restocking the cupboard down at the College of Charleston. And I think Pat Kelsey's fitting in rather nicely up at Louisville. I saw him earlier today. He put a football uniform on, and there's video of him catching punts with the football team out of those pitching machines, for lack of a better term, football throwing machines. He caught one, as you normally would. He also caught the second one behind his back. So I think Pat Kelsey's going to fit in awfully nicely up at U of
Nothing
L.
went faster to me, guys, than me being told that Pat Kelsey was not going to be able to coach at a high level or get one of these major jobs. And then he got one. He was at Winthrop. And then he goes to College of Charleston. I remember telling people about Pat Kelsey when he was at Winthrop. And look, I'm not suggesting that I knew anything. Everybody I knew was saying this. Unbelievable, the success, the way he works with players. This guy's going to be able to recruit at every level, however far you go up. He knows the game. He goes to College of Charleston, makes the tournament twice, and then he lands the job at Louisville. Nothing went faster to me than Pat Kelsey. You cannot have this job. You can't interview for this job. They never let him go from Winthrop to Louisville. But isn't it so strange? I'm not suggesting I know anything about basketball. I don't. I couldn't do what those guys do and break it down from an X and O perspective and work it that way. But we can all, I think, spot talent to an extent. And Pat Kelsey, he just blew a hole through this state. Winthrop, he won big. College of Charleston, won big. Look, Brad Brownell, Lamont Paris, those have both worked out. Obviously, Brad Brownell is in a position where he's polarizing it at Clemson because he's been there for so long. I don't think we can say anything, but to me, I always was under the impression that Pat Kelsey was going to get one of the two big jobs, one of the two biggest jobs here in the state of South Carolina, but now he's gotten away. If I were to wager, I think we're going to see Pat Kelsey have big-time success at Louisville as well.
I think so, and all he has to do is change the culture, because Kenny Payne did such a poor job with that program, and you wouldn't have thought it of a guy who understands Louisville basketball the way Kenny Payne did, but I mean, he's a disaster, and I find it fascinating, and this is how college basketball works. You know, if you go back about 4 years, Chris Mack was at and basically they've swapped coaches. And I think most Louisville fans, if they took a hard look at things, and I understand there were some off the court things that Chris Mack had to deal with, they should have never let Chris Mack go. But once that happens, now you've got Pat Kelsey, who I think I agree with you. I think will do a fabulous job there because he'll have support. Not that he didn't at Winthrop and the College of Charleston, but we're dealing with an entirely different animal, Louisville men's basketball. Plus, I think he will energize that fan base and that team. And I think Chris Mack was a tremendous hire for the college as well. I think he'll do great down there.
Yeah, and sometimes it's about timing, right? And one of the things, we talk about how salaries have gotten, maybe out of control for coaches or whatever term, they've escalated. But along with the escalation of salaries for coaches at these major programs, we also see the expectations and how quickly you need to win and succeed. The timelines compress as well. And years and years ago, you would give a guy 4 years or 5 years or 6 years. Now you have to win so quickly. And you just said you have to understand the culture of the program you're taking over. And Chris, I think you really hit on something. You can actually extrapolate so far, because to me, what you have to have is not just an understanding of that program and that culture and players of this era. You've got to deal with that transfer portal. And the coaches that can navigate the transfer portal properly in NIL properly at this stage are the ones that will succeed. And that's why I think Pat Kelsey's got a real shot. I think he connects with players. And you really hit on something. Don't we all wish the answer were, that guy's a good basketball coach, therefore he can keep the job? But we know this. We know that guys that know the game and can teach the game are fired yearly. And we also know that guys can get elevated just by the sheer fact that they can recruit. Look, I don't know I know John Calipari has this reputation, recruiter over coach. I don't know what kind of X and O guy he really is. I don't know. And I don't know how, somebody have to be really close to you to tell you that. Don't we all know that John Calipari got to where he is, not because of what he knows about basketball, but what he knows about recruiting? That's how he reached the level and the zenith of his sport, is because he knew how to get players to sign on the dotted line and join his club. And to me, that's almost a sadness, but I think Kelsey, in a positive way, to spin it in a positive way, I think he has that. I think he can go into homes and really connect with players and get them to go to Louisville. That's a lot of praise I'm heaping on somebody that just left our state, but it's because I'm kind of sad that he did leave our state. I was really hoping he'd make that difference here in Palmetto State as opposed to up there in the Bluegrass State.
All right, 888-898-2525 at the Masters. No change in the leaderboard. Scotty Scheffler, the only one that can really move things right now. Of the leaders, he's the only one still on the course, playing 17 right now in a three-way tie with Max Homa and also Bryson DeChambeau there in the clubhouse. -6. Meantime, college baseball, quick update. Gamecocks back in front of Florida 2-1 on a Talmadge LeCroy home run. Meantime, Clemson threatening 5-4. Tigers trailing, but bottom of the fourth, bases loaded.
Relax with an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union. Here at Founders, we understand that it's more than just a vehicle. Part of your life's journey, from hobbies changing to families growing, it's with you along the way. Our low fixed rates can get you on the road in a ride that fits your life. Not sure what you want? Apply early for a pre-approved spending limit so you know what to look for before you start shopping. Head over to one of our 41 convenient office locations or visit foundersfcu.com to apply for an auto loan today. Federally by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has introduced a new rolling jackpot, and it's big.
How big? Bigger than a striped bass? Reel 'em in.
Way bigger.
Bigger than this world-class golf course? Or
bigger than that.
Even bigger than the Gaffney Peach?
Let's just say with this new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today and check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com.
Overall odds are 1 in 10. Top prize odds are 1 in 850,668.
George Bryant for Tsunami Bar Sport. Our inventor, David Abernathy, has always said Tsunami Bar technology allows us to take the training to the grass. Now I know through my sport of golf that natural agility can be converted to athletic ability. And why is this, Tsunami Robbie?
Transferring the training to the grass. This may be the most undervalued characteristic of the Tsunami flexible bar technology. The Tsunami bar action loads and unloads at the concentric and eccentric transition points. This is what we call reversal forces. And the Tsunami bar is the only bar and training device that I know of that can train these reversal forces adequately at speed.
Hey, this is Phil Kornblut. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Love it, it's for a while. Love it when it's fast. Love it when the leaders talk, the pack is moving past. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these doubles say. Let's go racing.
All right, let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. This weekend as they head off to Texas and inside the fast lane as we talk NASCAR every Friday night with our good friend Jeff Owens, who joins us this evening. Jeff, happy Masters and NASCAR weekend. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You didn't sing.
No.
Phil's going to be disappointed.
He's on pain medication right now. He won't know. We'll tell him how's that?
That sounds good.
So
I wonder
can we
if he
finally
sings any better on pain medication?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe we should pipe in the microphone over to his house and find out. He may. That may improve.
Usually Phil sings, and then I go take pain medication. That's so now.
That's right. That's right.
So, Jeff, how much longer is it going to be before they rename Martinsville Speedway after Hendrick Motorsports?
Yeah. They've dominated that track over the years. That was not necessarily a great race, but it was a really cool moment to see those guys on their 40th anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports and a big weekend for them with all those employees. I think they had every employee at the place at Martinsville last week, and they wind up sweeping the race 1, 2, 3. Just a phenomenal performance and a pretty neat thing. That's been a great track and a very tragic track for that organization over the years. They won a lot of races there, and of course that's also the track where they had the plane crash, where Rick Hendrick's son and his brother and other people in the company were killed. So it's a bittersweet place for them over the years. So it was kind of nice for them and the sport in general, I think, to see them be able to celebrate a victory in that fashion on a milestone day for them.
How good was Kyle Larson, who sat on the pole but didn't win? His teammate ended up winning with William Byron. How dominant was that team overall? Yeah,
they were great. They really were. And Kyle Larson dominated the first half of the race, and then we saw Denny Hamlin get in there, and we thought maybe he was going to do something. And then William Byron comes on strong at the end, which he has had a habit of doing here lately. And that was his second Martin's race victory in the past couple of years, I think. But boy, that 24 team has really got it going right now. That was their third win of the year. They certainly look like, if anybody could dominate this season, that certainly looks like the team that could do it right now. But yeah, Larson and Byron, Hendrick is going on with those two guys. And I think Chase Elliott's coming too. I think he showed during that race that they're gaining on it a little bit, getting a little bit closer. He finishes third. So, great weekend for those guys. But yeah, Hendrick has figured this car out, and they're back on top of their game for sure right now.
Jeff, after a couple of short tracks and then a road course mixed in between, will the teams actually enjoy getting a chance, for lack of a better term, stretch their legs a little bit now that we had the Texas this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and we've heard them say that this week, they're all looking forward to getting back to regular racing, as they call it, to a 1.5 mile track where they can get on the gas and they can go fast and let it and air it out a little bit. So I think they're looking forward to that. We've only had 1.5 mile race this year, which is a little bit unusual for the schedule. You've usually had 2 or 3 by now, but we've only had one in Las Vegas. Kyle Larson won that race. But yeah, I think they're very much looking forward to getting back to a high-speed track.
And Jimmy Johnson, he's running this weekend. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe he's back in the car this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see. This was a good track for him, and one he had a lot of victories over the years. It was always kind of funny seeing Jimmy Johnson in victory lane at Texas wearing that stupid cowboy hat. Did not fit him at all. But yeah, Jimmy's back this weekend, so that would be very cool to see him run it where he's won.
Hold on, Jeff. Wait a second. Jimmy Johnson's back in the car. Are you sure it's not a Buick LeSabre?
Buick hasn't been in the sport for years, Smitty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he may be pulling out one of Petty's old Pontiacs or something to race. He's old enough.
Jeff, quickly, who should we keep an eye on this weekend? Is it the Toyotas and the Chevys once again, or is Ford actually going to show up for a weekend?
I think it's going to be Chevy and Toyota again. Larson and Byron have won the last couple there, so I think it's those guys again. And keep an eye on Reddick. I think he and Bubba Wallace might be surprising as well.
Awesome stuff, Jeff. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. We are dialing up a beautiful set of days with a clear night ahead, the low dipping to 50. Tomorrow, picture perfect. Sunny skies, a high of 76. Warmer on Sunday, more sunshine, 85 is the high. Next week, quite warm, upper 80s is our highs, and nice days ahead. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
If you have as much time in your outdoor living space as I do, you should make that time truly enjoyable with new patio furniture and a new grill from Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio. We offer a huge selection of high-quality, unique, brand-name patio sets, pieces, and accessories. Our top-of-the-line grills include Big Green Egg, Weber, and Trent. It's all in stock and online at affordable prices at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive, and JackOliverPools.com.
Keith Peters reporting the judge in Donald Trump's hush money criminal case has turned down the former president's request to postpone his trial because of publicity about the case. It's the latest in a string of delay denials that Trump has gotten from various courts this week as he fights to stave off the trial's start Monday with jury selection. Lawmakers in at least 12 states are debating bills that would legalize physician-assisted suicide. The laws would allow terminally ill patients under specified conditions to end their lives with the doctor's help. Physician-assisted suicide is contentious, and only 10 states and Washington, D.C. allow it. Patients must be at least 18 years old within 6 months of death and be assessed by a doctor to ensure they are capable of making an informed decision. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 475 points. This is SRN News.
When you've got the gem of the Midlands, Lake Murray, at your disposal, who can blame you for wanting to hit that water now? Marine 360 has been your local home for the nicest crest and sea hunt boats since 2007. Brandon, Scott, well, they offer expertise, incredible customer service, and a tremendous selection of new and pre-owned boats. Crest is the industry standard. They've been building boats since 1956, the oldest and one of the most respected pontoon builders anywhere. Sea Hunt is built right here in Columbia, the #1 selling center console in its class for 19 straight years. Look, Marine 360 is on the lake. It's a great place when you need your boat serviced. They're authorized service experts for Yamaha, Mercury, and Suzuki. I know Brandon and Scott. These are good guys. They're local, and they'll be there from start to finish. They can get you into the best boat that fits your dreams and your budget. Take a look online, marine360sc.com, or better yet, give them a call, 749-2360. Go visit the room, see their awesome selection, hit the water for a demonstration. If you belong on the water, you belong in a Marine 360 boat.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunt, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
Are you looking for free checking and free? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
I've learned a lot in my years doing this, but I've never had my eyes opened wider than when I met the folks from Broker Solar and went to see their job sites. Everything I thought about solar power, well, I was wrong about. Now, I'm on board 100% as it's done right. Don't let the media, don't let the politicians guilt you about solar power. You want solar because it actually will save you money and give you some power, literally and figuratively at the same time. It's amazing technology. What a great way to get rid of your monthly power bill. No more power outages. Instead of having to buy a generator, you just rely on solar batteries from Solar. Listen, I'm sick of having politicians tell me about green this, green that, but solar technology has advanced so much. So if you want to learn more, why don't you call the folks over at Broker Solar? This isn't some national thing. They are local. They're located right in Lexington. In fact, I've known the owner's family for many, many years. They are great. Online, it's brokersolar.com. Call them 807-7417. That's 807-7417 for Broker Solar.
Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle.
Now, Jeff was disappointed we didn't sing a moment ago with the NASCAR intro. This actually is my favorite lead-in song that we have. And it was awfully hard to hit it straight down the middle today at Augusta, where the winds were up and the scores were as well. Right now, three-way tie for first. Max Homa, Bryson DeChambeau have been in the clubhouse seemingly all day. -6, Scotty Scheffler, who is playing maybe the longest round in terms of time in golf history. They teed off today at 1:48. If they finish before darkness, it will have taken them 6 hours to play their round today, as it is time for birdies, bogeys, and biceps all around the state of South Carolina. As we say hello to our good George Bryan, who is in on this Friday Masters round number 2 coming to a close. George, how are you, sir?
Oh, could not be better. And what a beautiful time of the year this is for the Carolina golfers, South Carolina specifically. This is golf Christmas season, opening day.
It really is.
And,
it really is, because
yeah,
you've got the Masters, and then, of course, we've got the RBC Heritage next weekend here in the state.
Oh, incredible. And I started my day there, and due to grandbabies and the desire to see them, I had to get back in the afternoon to spend some time there, but with the TV on, so it's still going. And you're right, it's one of the longest, probably the longest day that I can remember. And hey, the way I look at it, the longer the better, baby, especially in April. And beautiful day today. I know it's a little tough on them, but still a beautiful day.
MJ Ward warming up at the bullpen. We'll welcome him on the tee here in just a quick second. But I did want to ask you, as a player, you obviously have family members who have played on the PGA Tour. Is wind the worst conditions to play in? Can you handle rain and heat and cold a lot better? Is the wind, like they're dealing with today, is that the absolute worst?
Or the toughest, absolute toughest. And no question. And I while I was watching it, it was amazing the way the players handled it. And it was as I watch it on TV, I could see a lot more. Obviously, when you're on foot, you can't see but so much. And I was pretty amazed at the great shots I saw. And now, as I get a little wider view, it's playing heck. I can see the struggles. I did see probably one of the best up and downs, just because I'm familiar with the golf course that nobody will talk about. But Cam Smith just got up and down on 16 incredibly. As watched John Rahm struggle, it was sad to see both Justin Thomas. Yeah, he makes double bogey on the last hole and missed the cut by a shot. The cut 6 over par. I can't recall it playing this way. Extremely unique.
Well, George, we have a partner for you to tee off here on the first tee. Our good friend MJ Ward, the senior editor of Golf Today, let you welcome him on the tee, and you guys can pitch it around a little bit about today's second round at Augusta.
Yeah, welcome, MJ. Glad to tee it up with you, and I'm picking up that you are there.
Well, I feel like Dorothy in Wizard of Oz. If you don't batten down the hatches, you might just blow out. You raised a question before about wind. Wind is a factor, but the other factor is that the golf course was firm up until the time of the thunderstorms on Thursday morning, and then the golf course changed. At least enough that you could control the variables. The one thing that really gets under the skin of elite golfers is when they just know where the ball's going to stop, because then it becomes a guessing game. And when you've got wind blowing, the conditions are going to change throughout the day. I mean, if you look at the scores that were shot, really nobody did anything from the time that Scotty Scheffler's group teed off. Everything was done earlier today. When the wind gets going like it does at Augusta, you have to be able to be always mindful that you can't allow the big number to get into play, especially where you're, when the hole's around amen corner. It becomes a guessing, and you always have to make sure that you don't come up on the short side of it. But the conditions are going to turn for the weekend. I mean, you're going to see warmer air. There'll be wind, but it'll be a little bit different conditions in terms of scoring opportunities. Today was the day that you had to maintain position somewhere close to the lead. And what is close to the lead? Anybody that's at even par is close to the lead. I can't recall, and George, you're absolutely right. I'd have to look in the record book, but +6 as a cut line is amazing for the elite players that are in Augusta. But, when you get heavy wind blowing, you really have to know how to control shots. And here's the other thing to keep in mind. When you have major elevation changes, which is what Augusta presents, you're hitting into elevated targets at times. And you have to be able to understand that if you don't get the ball to the target, you could actually roll off the front section of these greens. So you always have to be mindful of trajectory of your shot and where the ball will end up.
And even if you are mindful, and even if it does take off as planned, it can easily be overtaken, and that happened. I watched Rory on 11. He hit a pretty solid ball, and it had absolutely no chance. Just a straight nose dive into the pond on 11 after a just mammoth drive. So then John Rahm's ball, every ball, all the balls got affected one way or another. And putting, that's the thing that I'm a little surprised the commentary not speaking of the real difficulty. And anybody who's played in wind knows the toughest part for these guys out here is on the greens, and that's probably
well.
Most
I'll tell you something.
impressive
One of the great things about Augusta, if you want to see the wind players, look at the guys from Texas who have won at Augusta National. They've been able to handle the wind conditions, and names like Jimmy Demerit and Ben Hogan and Byron Nelson. Obviously, the more modern times, you get people like Ben Crenshaw, Scotty Scheffler. Was raised in Texas, but I have to say, as a Jersey guy, he was born in New Jersey. But the reality is, anytime you have firmness and wind conditions, it becomes it becomes a shootout in terms of how do you know how to handle those conditions, and mentally the grind. You can see it on the faces of the guys today. I mean, as they went through the round, especially the guys that played, during the Scheffler time frame, the wind becomes a real brutal factor, and you really get disgusted because sometimes you just feel like, what will it take to get a successful shot? And that's the moment that's the last thing you want to be thinking about when you get into a tough grind situation. You're going to have to make a score in those kind of conditions. And, when you see guys in the past like Tiger and Jack and players of that caliber, they're able to adjust and make the adjustments. Some players just get down on themselves and they play themselves out of it. It's hard. And today was the day in which you're going to see, who can really survive and move on. But as I said last night in the show, I wouldn't be backing away from Scotty Scheffler. The man's not number one in the world for nothing. He played in the most difficult of conditions, and in all probability, unless he makes a putt on 18, he's going to be in a three-way tie. So it'll be interesting to see, what goes on. But if conditions change where they can score tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody could post a 65 or a 66 and move into contention for Sunday's final round. It's possible that could happen, but I don't expect Scheffler to be going backwards. I think today was the day he could have went backwards, but that didn't happen. So if anybody's going to take the tournament, you're going to have to start going lower tomorrow and Sunday in order to get the green jacket.
Yeah, Scheffler's got, looks like about 50 feet on number 18, and it was not a makeable birdie putt, but the wind on that hole, and also it's kind of unusual to see them getting fooled on 17, 17. I just haven't seen those holes trick them as they have, and 15 probably. I've never seen 15 play this way. Absolutely no question.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, you're playing. When people play 15, once you get to the top of that hill, I mean, today, I mean, to see guys like Rory McIlroy, Scheffler, and a number of others, I mean, laying up. If you went for that green and that ball comes in hot and you bounce off that back of that plateau, there are balls that have reached the pond at 16. It's possible. So, you start to get a little gun shy out there because you don't want to be able to throw away shots. I mean, what Scotty did on 13 today is an example of that. He got lucky on Thursday. He didn't get lucky today. So what you always got thinking about in the back of your mind is just make sure that you don't put that big number on board, because there weren't going to be that many good birdie opportunities today. And you needed to make sure that you stay somewhere near the lead. But anybody who played in the afternoon today, they caught the tougher part of the draw. But it'll be interesting to see. And tomorrow and Sunday, conditions are going to be somewhat, obviously they're going to be warmer. So they're going to have opportunities, hopefully, maybe to score. And if that happens, you're going to see a real dynamite fight for the last 36 holes.
Well, we have a couple of locals, South Carolinians, that one in particular, it was pretty good seeing him come in, and he is in contention, Lucas Glover at even par. My opinion about contention goes way back, a little deeper than 6 shots. There are not enough players. It was also interesting, such a small field. I've never seen it move as much throughout a day with this small of a field. And when I first started watching it, it was at +2, and it's already at +6, and it won't move any more than that. But Lucas Glover's in contention at even par. It's cool watching him play this part of the day. And by the way, I don't think there was any advantage to any part of this day, unlike yesterday. One of the first things I saw was Jordan Spieth come in. I think he made he made a big number on 15. Seems like it was at least a triple. I think it was a 9, and then even right down to what you mentioned about 15. Some of the balls, I've watched him struggle on 15 once I got home. I've never quite seen that. We had Dustin Johnson, who grew up right here in the Irmo Chapin area. He struggled, and so he's one of the ones I was able to watch play a little bit of golf this morning.
George, when you mention there's a lot of players that have historically been at the top of the board. I don't know where DJ goes from here. I mean, I have questions, serious questions, about how much he's got in the tank to play at the elite level. Today was an embarrassment for Jon Rahm. I mean, to be the defending champion, he looked lost out there. I mean, this is a guy that's won 2 majors. This was his first return, to be, on the big stage, and he just, he came up empty. Excuse me. I just think that, Jordan Spieth is another guy, highly touted for a long time, but, where has he been? I mean, in big time play. I could go through a lot of different people. Brooks Koepka, to me, was not really anywhere close to being as he needed to be. Rory McIlroy, he makes the cut, but but to be as far back as he is, he's going to have to shoot lights out tomorrow and Sunday. I mean, there's a lot of these keepers that really didn't show much given the stakes that were involved.
Yeah, there's man, I can tell you're struggling. I sure hope you heal up and feel better, MJ.
Well, I'm not choking as much as some of these other guys did. I can tell you that. I have to say this. I mean, when you get to the big stage, you got to be able to show people that you're ready to play. That's what made Tiger Tiger. That's what made Mickelson Mickelson. It's tough out there, but it's tough for everybody. You got to be able to really grind it out. And the secret to people like Tiger and Jack is they were able to make the 76-77 round become 72-71. Some way, somehow, they could keep themselves in contention. And today is a great example of that. A lot of guys really needed to button it down to really get into the house with a chance to win, hopefully, on the weekend. And the bottom line of it is, you get a guy, Scheffler just made par at 18. That's about as high as he's going to shoot, 72. If anybody thinks that this guy's going to be shooting 73, 74 on the weekend, they're drinking serious Kool-Aid, because they've been missing what this guy's been doing over the last 4 or 5 weeks in golf. So as I said the other day, you're going to have to score on the weekend. I would right now that if conditions are favorable, you can't be less than 10 under in winning this thing, because I think conditions will turn, and you're going to have to shoot lower. It'll be interesting to see again. And George, you hit the nail on the head. If there are players who are 7 shots back, I can't see it much more than that. They're going to have to shoot lights out tomorrow if they have any shot, because in the Masters, you're going to have to be 2 to 3 shots around the lead on Sunday. Yes, you can always have the historical comebacks like a Gary Player did when he was 64 in 1978. But that's more of the exception than the rule. You need to be close enough to the lead so that you can put some pressure on whoever it is that's at the top.
Yeah, there's no question. I've watched Shoffley and Scheffler in the same group, which is a tongue twister for me. But I've been watching Shoffley for quite a while. I would predict he will be right there on Sunday afternoon late with a chance. And there's somebody else who's just such a big time player, and I saw him play a little bit. I can't get by this. I haven't seen Tiger play in person or take a swing in 7-8 months, and he looks spectacular out there. And he also, I can't say I've seen him just with a gait, a walk, especially, and most people, they could, if you're there, the ground looks beautiful, but it is soft. The worst kind of ground for him to have to navigate. And
well, I'll tell you one, George, if we had the Tiger of when he was in his peak years, I could guarantee you that he would have been at or close to the lead given the conditions that were out there, because he has that capability of being able. I'm talking about the Tiger in his peak years. He played phenomenally, but much of it has to be with the flat stick. He didn't miss inside of 10 feet yesterday. The flat stick was a big factor for him. He's hit the ball really well. My issue with Tiger is I don't think he's got the gearbox to put that big number, the low number, on the board. Tremendous achievement, setting a record for consecutive cuts made. 24 years in a row doing anything is phenomenal, and he has to pat himself on the back. I'll be curious to see how he holds up for the last 36 holes. This is new territory for him. He hasn't really been able to finish a tournament in quite some time, but to make the cut, to do what he did, given all the question marks, it's a remarkable achievement in terms of his overall career, and obviously to set the record with 24 cuts made in succession, truly a remarkable achievement.
Well, he's at +1, He's at +1, and he's more than just making the cut. I don't think there's any question that, to get to 72 holes is quite a stretch at this point. But if somehow his body will allow, he has absolutely got a chance. I haven't seen him swing as smoothly and as fluidly, and his short game is absolutely spectacular. I'm chipping on 6 today, just rattled the crowd. Felt like an earthquake when he chipped that ball in. So also another, that A-Bird, he is just an incredible athlete.
He was the only man to break 70 today. And that's the kind of you have to keep an eye on because, Hogard is another guy. There's a lot of new talent that's probably not really as familiar, or I should say golf fans in the States are that familiar with. But make no mistake about it. The new generation of players, they don't just sit on the tee and say, hey, we're just going to get rolled by all these guys that have been here before. They're much more seasoned. They're ready to play. It would not shock me. I think one of the question marks I want to see tomorrow is how well does Max Homa play in a big time spot. The guy's got a tremendous amount of talent, tied for the lead. He's really not really been on the board in a major event when he's had serious game to show what he has. He is a really solid player, but tomorrow, wow, it's going to be a new dawn, a new day. Deschamps, you got to tip your hat to the guy. He could have went in a lot of different ways today, but he held himself together. Could have went south, but it didn't happen. And then, in my opinion, and again, I'm very partisan to Scotty, he had the toughest of conditions. Chris, you alluded to about a 6 golf round. I have to say this much. That's an abomination that people could take that long to play in tournament golf. It's unfortunate, that the conditions are what they are, but 6 hours on a golf course is beyond what should be done at championship level play. I can't imagine that pace of play will be anywhere close to that when we get to the weekend, especially when they're playing in twosomes.
Hey, MJ, what a privilege to have you on. They're trying to get us to putt out, and you just set it up perfectly, MJ. It's a privilege having you on. Enjoy your weekend. Go heal up. And again, MJ Ward, thank you, sir. Have a good weekend. Now, that tee up, MJ was speaking of how long they've been out. Well, this whole segment is sponsored by Tsunami Bar Sports, and there's a brand new game in town, 6-hole scramble course. And if you're still with us, you can play 6 holes inside 10 minutes. And
Excellent.
It's a fact.
Well, as long as they don't choke over it, I'll be fine.
Oh, you'll love it. We'll have to get you out. And fellas, the Garage Gym Pro Shop will be opening soon. And Tsunami Bar Technology is the best out there. And, hey, what a weekend we have. Until next week, MJ, what a privilege. You all tee 'em high, but shoot 'em low.
MJ and George, thank you guys so much. Outstanding golf conversation. One other news note to pass along: to see women's golf championships taking place down in Florida this weekend. South Carolina in the lead. Gamecocks at -5. They've got a 4-shot lead over Auburn and Texas A&M. Mississippi State 5 back after the opening round down in Florida. All right, folks, that's going to cap off a fun Friday. Smitty, appreciate it as always, my friend, you filling in when we can. We don't get you on enough, so it's a privilege to have you on when we can.
Well, I always enjoy coming out of the pen and making problems like Mark Wohlers. By the way, a couple of good games going on in state. Check them out, SportsTalkSC.com. We'll have the stories afterward. And NC State leads Clemson 9-8. South Carolina leads Florida 3-1 down in Gainesville. We'll have more for you at SportsTalkSC.com as those games conclude.
Folks, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the golf. Enjoy the baseball. Josh, thank you much. Yep. And we'll see you back here on Monday.
WQXL Columbia, W2. Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
.com to learn more.